I hate that goddamn song so much. Welcome in to another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. This man next to me is my vice mayor, your thunderstick, the one and only Jesse Friedman. And of course, this is another edition of Flavoring Fridays brought to you by our friends at OG's Brands. Shout out to OG's Brands. I saw our friends at OG's today at our Keep It 100 golf tournament. That was fun. Great to see them out there. It's always great to see them. It's always a good time. And of course, you got to check out the entire array of what OG's has to offer. Head on over to ogsbrands.com to see their full lineup, including their two newest gummies, the OG's Natural and the Big OG's, and find out where you can purchase them. Tonight's a great night for OG's. It's a great performance to forget. Even though the Diamondbacks did hang with the Baltimore Orioles, if you want to put a positive spin on it, they did put up a good fight tonight against the Orioles, but did lose in Baltimore by a score of 4-2. The offense couldn't figure out Baltimore Orioles starting pitcher Cole Irvin. Cattell did early. He hit a home run and got the Diamondbacks going with at least that solo shot was part of extending his 11-game hitting streak. But aside from Cattell, it didn't seem like the offense could get much going tonight, Jesse.
Not much at all, Derek. The Diamondbacks offense had 2 extra base hits in this game. One of them was that Ketel Marte solo homer that you mentioned. The other was a leadoff double by Gabby Moreno to start off that 9th inning, which looked intriguing in the moments. Looked like a good way to start a late game rally against Yennier Cano.
Was exciting.
But that is not ultimately what happened. Next 3 hitters retired in order. And Diamondbacks, as you said, they did hang in there with the Baltimore Orioles, but that doesn't go in the win column, Derek. Diamondbacks fall today and ultimately snap that 4-game winning streak.
Feels like loser talk. Definitely feels like loser talk. Brandon Pfaadt was not great tonight. He was good, but not great. He was able to kind of rebound after having a tough second inning. But he, again, it was, I think it was more about the offense not being able to get something going tonight more than Brandon Pfaadt. He went out there and did what Brandon Pfaadt does. I mean, a lot of the young pitchers on this team, Jesse, seem to fall apart once things kind of go wrong for them. Pfaadt shows kind of that elite pitcher stuff when he is able to rebound and, kind of come back from an inning where it seemed like things were falling apart for him. Things were getting away from him. He also seems like an elite level pitcher in the fact that he was still able to go the distance that he went tonight without getting a single strikeout.
It was a really weird outing for Brandon Pfaadt, right? In a lot of different ways. He didn't strike anyone out, and he has been striking out a decent number of guys, at least in recent games. I mean, he had 2 outings ago was his 11 strikeout performance against the Seattle Mariners, where he had almost 20 whiffs. And then today he goes out there, didn't have a strikeout, had only 6 whiffs in this game. Also bizarre that he only threw a sweeper 20% of the time. That's obviously Pfaadt's signature pitch. We're used to seeing that quite a bit. He backed off that a little bit today, threw more curveballs and changeups than we're used to seeing. And as you said, still managed to put together a pretty decent outing. Like if you told me before the game started that Brandon Pfaadt wasn't going to strike anyone out today, I probably would have figured it'd be a pretty rough outing for him. But he hung in there and gave up a couple of runs in the second, gave up another run in the 5th, but was still able to go out there and pitch the 6th inning and give the Diamondbacks a quality start against a really, really good Baltimore Orioles offense. This was a pretty good outing for Brandon Pfaadt, despite how weird it was in several different ways.
Part of the reason why that Orioles offense is so good is because of the number of left-handed batters that they have in their lineup.
Yes.
A strength that the Diamondbacks had last season themselves, right? 6 out of the 9 Oriole hitters were lefties, which Pfaadt struggles with.
Yeah, that was going into this matchup, I was like, man, I don't know if you can draw up a more difficult matchup for Brandon Pfaadt than the Baltimore Orioles. Not only do they rake and they lead the league in homers, which is something that Pfaadt, it's well documented that's been an issue for him in his young major league career, preventing the long ball. But given how many lefties they can stack in the lineup, Pfaadt is because his best pitch is his sweeper. Sweepers generally don't work all that well to left-handed hitters. Bizarrely, Pfaadt actually has worked fairly well to lefties, but that's not something we normally see. And as I said earlier, he kind of backed off the sweeper, used some of his other weapons in this game today. But on paper, a really, really tough matchup for him. He managed to hang in there and give the D-backs a chance to win this game.
Do you think that the conditions tonight, a very wet night in Baltimore, might have had anything to do with him not throwing that sweeper? Maybe he just couldn't get that grip on the ball.
I guess that's a question for him, right? I would guess probably not. I mean, Pfaadt's from Louisville, right? Where I'm
Did it.
told it
Nailed
rains. I think I did nail it. He would be proud of me. But I believe it rains a pretty decent amount over there. A lot of people are kind of wonder, like with the D-backs, would they struggle more in wet conditions than other teams, given that they play indoors and they don't generally deal with that sort of thing very often. But a lot of these guys are, from the East Coast or from the South or from parts of the country where it rains a lot and grew up pitching in those conditions pretty often. So I would guess that didn't have an effect on his game plan today. I think it's just you got a lineup stacked with a bunch of lefties. And as I said earlier, on paper, sweepers don't generally work very well to left-handed hitters. And I wonder if Pfaadt was trying to establish the curveball, trying to establish the changeup more to see if he could get outs on those weapons, and he really did. I mean, they were reasonably successful.
Alex Schmidt in the chat says 6 innings pitched and only 3 earned runs is a quality start. Offense definitely needs to be more competitive, and you're absolutely right about that. You can't blame Brandon Pfaadt for what he did tonight. I think Brandon Pfaadt recovered really nicely. I think he got himself into some jams. We talked there about that. What was it? It was the 3 hits and 2 runs allowed in the second. It was some dribblers, some very slow exit velo singles that started things off. Nothing was really super hard hit. They got Jordan Westberg RBI double, which was probably obviously the biggest hit there, and then Cedric Mullins gets a ground out, but he gets the RBI. So, I mean, even in that inning where it felt like things were kind of going haywire for Brandon, he still kept things. He still limited the damage. He still kept things within reason. And then, again, he had a bounce back inning there in the third, great inning in the fourth, and then in the bottom of the fifth, he gives up a couple of other hits with 2 outs and ends up giving up 1 more run. But yeah, it was more about the offense tonight. You're muted, sir.
We can't hear you, Damon.
We can't hear you. You look drunk and surly.
Jesse's fault. I'm sorry.
Of course, it's Jesse's fault.
Yeah, Jesse's fault. Doesn't it feel like we can control V or command V every Brandon Pfaadt performance at this point this season and just talk about, we could just clip what we said last time and play it on this show? Like, he always has like a weird first couple innings, starts off slow, buckles down, ends up with a pretty good performance. And then like his ERA doesn't look that great, but we're all like, yeah, he pitched pretty well, actually. He gave us 6.
He gives you a chance to win, right? He's not he's not letting the game get away from you, right?
Yeah,
but at the same time, there's been a couple of Brandon Pfaadt
in its own right.
Right.
It's just weird.
Well, he definitely has a veteran quality when it comes to that. I think that's what it is, right? We see that out of guys like Merrill, who will go out, and a lot of times Merrill Kelly's worst inning will be his first inning. And then after that, he just somehow gets stronger and stronger as the game goes on. And then he's literally in a fist fight with Torrey to come out of the game in like the 7th or the 8th, right? But the offense didn't do much. Like I said, Ketel Marte, he can't do it all on his own. Didn't have a great night tonight, but he did extend his hitting streak to 11 games. He gets a home run. That's good for me. It's good for me. Lourdes, by the way, who continues to make routine fly balls look very difficult to catch at times, right? He might be back. He went 2 for 4 tonight. Gurriel is now hitting 368 in his career, Jesse, at Camden Yards. So maybe the Baltimore Orioles would be interested in a trade for Lourdes.
Yeah, I don't know if the Diamondbacks would be interested in a trade for Lourdes, but I do have to touch real quick on that routine fly ball comment that you made. It wasn't the double. Obviously, the double was a double. That was the Colton Cowser fly out in the second inning after the Orioles had 2 on with nobody out. Cowser really drove a ball to the opposite field, and Lourdes chased it down. And he took one of the more bizarre routes that you'll ever see on a baseball. Kind of got himself all turned around out there, made the catch, I think, right around the warning track. Sort of kind of an over-the-shoulder play that wasn't really necessary. The catch probability, according to StatCast, I'm told, was 95% on that ball. So I do think Lourdes made that look a little bit more difficult than it might have been, but he made the play, and that's the case more often than not with Lourdes in the
most Lourdes play ever.
It really was.
Yeah,
it was the most Lourdes catch ever. That's for sure. But again, not much else from the offense. Lourdes might be back, but Corbin is not. Corbin continues to struggle. It really I don't want to bag on the Apple TV Plus commentators, but I hate hearing them fix Corbin when I very much know they don't know what they are talking about, right? I'm just saying that out loud. Again, this is no attack on them. They do a lot of games, and none of them are typically Diamondbacks games, so I don't expect them to know a lot about the team. But man, when they started trying to diagnose what is wrong with Corbin Carroll, it just sounded like they were regurgitating a bunch of bad information that they received in a very short period of time.
Yeah, I mean, you have to hand it to him in some way, because you're right. I mean, they're calling games for a variety of teams, and that's a really hard thing to do. Like, you and I feel like we have our hands full just keeping everything straight about this team, right? Much less like, oh, you're going to be calling the Royals Guardians game on Friday. Like, study up on both teams, figure out all the storylines with all the players. That's a really tall task. But yes, to anyone who is watching the broadcast today and thinking to themselves, either this narrative about this player is subtly incorrect, or at least different from what I've heard, or it's a narrative that was more prominent a full year ago than right now.
Sure.
Yes, I hear you. They were doing the Brandon Pfaadt, moving from the third base side of the rubber to the first base side, which is almost a year old news at this point. But again, it's a really tough thing for them to do. I think they pulled it off reasonably well, so can't fault them too much for that.
Benjamin Hunley gets straight to the point. He says, "You know what the D-backs should work on? Hitting center cut cookies instead of fouling them off." Yeah, well, they did that a lot today against Cole Irvin. He shoved today. He shoved for the Orioles. And the Diamondbacks did end his scoreless inning streak, so at least there was that. But let's take a look, Jesse, because you had some of the swinging strikes here against Cole Irvin.
Yeah. This is a chart that shows as you said, every swinging strike by a Diamondbacks hitter against Cole Irvin. And what stands out clearly looking at this is a lot of these pitches are right in the middle of the strike zone. And a lot of them are fastballs, right? All of the red that you see here are four seamers. There's a sinker in there as well that's orange. There's a cutter that's there in brown. These are not breaking pitches that D-backs hitters were fooled on below the zone that were, well placed by Cole Irvin. A lot of these are just center cut fastballs the D-backs hitters were not able to capitalize on. And Gabriel Moreno, I will say, several of these four-seam fastball whiffs were Gabby's. He looked pretty rough at the plate today, even though he did have that double in the ninth inning. He kind of rolled over the top of that one. I wouldn't consider it, necessarily a fantastic turnaround at bat necessarily. He had some rough at bats early in this game for the D-backs, as a lot of their hitters did against Cole Irvin. Irvin really just continued to roll, and as you said, the scoreless inning streak is now over, but this was still a very, very good outing for him.
Adam brings up a great point. He talks about that there's at least one pitch that Cole Irvin should not have gotten. That was that Walker strike that was 6 inches off the plate. That was an egregious missed call to start the fourth inning. But again, the Diamondbacks just couldn't muster up much today on a very, very wet day there in Baltimore. By the way, for those of you that are wondering why there was an older gentleman spraying the crowd down with a hose, we did dig into this a little bit. It is called the bird bath splash zone because they're the Orioles, right? Cute. I don't hate any of this stuff, Jesse. I just want to come out and say it. There's one thing I hate. I'll get to that here in a minute, but I definitely don't hate on is it David Rubenstein, the new owner of the Baltimore Orioles, because that franchise has dealt with some pretty terrible ownership over the years, and to have a man like this who is the owner, who is this excited about this team, this excited to be owning this team, out there playing the role of Mr. Splash, who is their typical hose man, if you will, and he was spraying the crowd, having himself a grand old time on a cold, wet night in Baltimore. I do not know. Are there any exceptions when we don't have the bird bath splash zone open for business? I don't know. But if it's part of the culture and part of everything they got going on, I say when it's 35 degrees and windy, you're all getting sprayed with the hose. That's the way this is going to work. So I respect it, though. I don't know if this is going to get mad. People get mad at me for saying something positive, but I don't know. I like owners like this. I like owners that enjoy owning a team. And I think, again, after the years of what Baltimore Orioles fans have gone through with ownership, it's great for them to have a guy like this that they could be excited about being in charge of the team.
Yeah, as Adam said in the chat, a 74-year-old man spraying fans with a hose. It does make for odd television for sure.
It is.
It is a little bizarre. But yeah, I mean, this is clearly a positive development for the Orioles that Rubenstein seems to be very engaged with the fans in ways that you wouldn't necessarily expect for an owner. Yeah, I mean, seems to be dedicated to putting a high quality product on the field for baseball at large. It's good, it's a good thing to have people like David Rubenstein in baseball. Like this is a good development for the sport. I do think that when he was being interviewed by Apple TV Plus at one point, he suggested that if the Orioles hit a home run, that everyone would get a David Rubenstein bobblehead. I think he talked about them getting hats as well. So I guess the Diamondbacks
made that up on the spot.
I guess the D-backs prevented it though, Derek, because the Orioles, although they did win this game, they did not hit a home run today against the D-backs pitching staff.
We win the war. They might have won the battle, but
go.
we won the war, is what it is. But speaking of another battle, another war that we all should be fighting, I am already furious about the fan support that Cowser there in Baltimore is getting as the Milkman. Look at this guy. Look at this guy, Jesse. I want to know, have any of you Diamondbacks fans dressed up as a fucking Milkman and gone to the game and sat there looking weird and slightly embarrassed, but also kind of cool because we get it and we know what this is about? No, we need more of you out there supporting our guy, Zach Gallen, the true Milkman. Maybe I should be out there. Piece of Yoshi is trying to, of course, absolve himself from any blame and say, I'm in New York. Did you go when we play the Mets? Are you going there dressed up as a Milkman? Huh? I need more of this. Not for them, for us. Maybe they deserve to call him the Milkman. I don't know, Jesse. Maybe we need to let the nickname go.
I think we find out on Sunday, right? Like Zach Gallen on the bump against their, theoretically we get a few plate appearances between Gallen and Colton Cowser. Maybe that's when we find out who the true Milkman is, Derek.
Look at this. Elizabeth says, hey, send me a Milkman costume, and if he pitches at Citi Field, I'll wear it. Elizabeth, Amazon ships today. We can really solve this very quickly. There's not even a lot on my end I would have to do. I wouldn't have to go shopping for it or anything. I would just simply need to get your address from your husband without your permission and then have it mailed off to you. So we'll see what we can make happen. But if
guys, I gotta be honest.
Oh God, here he comes.
This is loser talk. Fuck that.
Here he comes.
Colton Cowser has been in the league for 1 year.
I know. It's crazy.
It's our Milkman nickname.
Thank you.
Zach Gallen has put years of hard work, years of effort into getting this nickname. And you guys are just going to give it away to a guy because he would be the presumable rookie of the year after
I'm just I am just asking, has anybody
Disgusting.
dressed up at Chase Field as a milkman in honor of
Derek,
Galentine's Day?
The words came out of your mouth. Should we just give them the nickname?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Not my fan base. We won't stand for it. And
Hold the
people in
line.
chat, they
Hold
won't
the
stand for
line,
it
Damon.
either.
Hold the line
I mean,
isn't just a
I am
Cardinals
holding the line.
phrase. It fucking means a lot around here.
I am
It's a
holding the line.
catchphrase. It's a catchphrase at PHNX. It's like the third one down. I think. I know the first one is we make sports more fun. I think. I don't remember. I'm really bad at remembering our mantras. But what I do remember is that, of course, we still have a king snake to give out, Jesse. And tonight,
can I just say real quick on the Milkman conversation?
Are we sure? I need to hear your opinion.
Are we sure that this guy didn't just like come to the ballpark because he knew that Zach Gallen was setting foot at Camden Yards for possibly the first time ever, and he just wanted to greet him in proper fashion from the stands? I think we need to gather a little more information.
We don't know that.
We start making any assumptions.
We, in fact, do not know that. That is not information that we know. So as far as I'm concerned, you could be right. Rumor has it the streets are saying that guy was there in support of Zach Gallen. I am here tonight in support of Justin Martinez. Torey Lovullo goes to Logan Allen after Brandon Pfaadt's night is done. Brandon Pfaadt leaves. I think it was a 3-2 deficit at that point. And Logan Allen just doesn't seem like a very good solution for this team in, I guess, the role that Torey is trying to plug him in at. It feels like at times Torey is putting him into like high leverage situations for situational matchups. And I don't know if Allen's that guy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a result of Kyle Nelson going on the injured list, right? And ultimately being out for the season is that the D-backs lost one of their left-handed relievers. And so they were like, all right, well, our long man happens to be a left-handed reliever in Logan Allen. So let's plug in Logan Allen into essentially the same role that Kyle Nelson had. That at least that's sort of what it appears at this point, how Allen is being used. And yeah, I think if people aren't happy with that decision, I can understand why. Like Logan Allen, for as good as he's been at times for the D-backs in a long relief role, he doesn't really have an extended track record of major league success, right? He's bounced around quite a bit. His career big league ERA was well over 5 entering the season. He's not really someone who has he hasn't necessarily proven himself to be a guy that you want in a game in the 7th inning against one of the league's best offenses. And, when there's a 1-run difference between you and the opponent. Right. And the D-backs didn't lose because of Logan Allen or anything. That run didn't wind up really mattering because the D-backs only scored 2 runs in this game anyway. But you do have to ask the question, like, would it have been better, I guess, to go straight to Justin Martinez out of the gate? I know Torey was chasing after the left on left matchup with a couple of guys at the bottom of the Orioles lineup, but I very much understand the gripe that people seem to have there, because Allen is not really proven as any kind of a high leverage reliever, right? He made the team just to kind of give them some added length. He pitched pretty well in that role, but I don't know if he's really has the track record that you'd want for a guy that you're plugging into a spot like that.
And while you and I were having a text message conversation about him coming into the game, I think it went basically to the direction of, why not go to Justin Martinez, who comes in and absolutely shoves. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to suggest we know ball better than Torey Lovullo, the manager of a National League World Series, runner-up baseball team. However, I'm going to let people kind of make that assumption themselves just by floating that out there. Now, Justin Martinez comes in, 1 2/3 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, no hits. I mean, he just continues to get better as the season progresses. We already knew what we could potentially see out of him based on his numbers from Reno, because that's a hard place to pitch and a hard place to put up the numbers that he put up. But man, so far, my man Justin Martinez has a 0.84 ERA, and that plays in Major League Baseball, Jesse. That absolutely plays.
We've said it a bunch of times before, right? That if Justin Martinez figures out how to throw strikes consistently, he's not just a decent major league reliever. He's a potentially elite one, right? And you saw glimpses of that today. He was pounding the strike zone pretty effectively. I know there were 2 walks in there. One of them was an intentional walk. He did walk another guy as well, but all 5 of his outs came on strikeouts. He had the only strikeouts by any D-backs pitcher in this baseball game at large, as things turned out. And he looked really good. He's not only, it's not just that he's staying in the strike zone, it's that he's working around the edges of the strike zone pretty well. You're starting to see those splitters dotted on the lower outside edge to lefties, the slider put in good spots too, fastballs generally up in the zone. He really seems to have made some strides with his command. And I think it's time to have a serious conversation about Justin Martinez's role in this bullpen and whether, you're not going to have him supplant Thompson, Ginkel, or Sewald. That part of your bullpen is set. But is he sort of the next guy in line as far as the bullpen goes? There's a pretty good case to be made for that, given the other options they have right now.
And for that reason, and for other reasons, like nobody else really stepping up tonight, Justin Martinez is our king snake. Again, 1 2/3 innings pitched, 5 Ks. It's just filthy. It's just absolutely filthy.
He was so
literally every out was a strikeout.
He has such good stuff. I mean, Justin Martinez splitter is one of the best out pitches that you'll find in baseball. And you could tell it was funny hearing the broadcast talk about him as well. They were just like completely enamored. I mean, they were like, this Justin Martinez kid, like he looks like a future high leverage reliever. Like this guy, I think Spielborgs at one point said, I'm telling you right now, this guy is the future closer of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And, I think we're still a little ways away from that. Someone said it in the comments earlier that Justin Martinez, we're talking about Logan Allen not being proven. Justin Martinez is not proven by any stretch of the imagination either, but he has stuff that very, very, very few pitchers in all of Major League Baseball and all of professional baseball have. And it makes his ceiling about as high as just about any relief pitcher in all of baseball.
Well, of course, we do thank you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, and all of you that were also enamored with what Justin Martinez was doing tonight. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our shows go live. We had an insane day around here today on this little network. I'm not sure if you guys took notice, but we had breaking news where some of my coworkers needed to leave the fun golf tournament we were at, thus opening up a position, Jesse, in the tournament for some hero to step up with his golf clubs and take Espo's spot while he goes off.
Let's dive straight into it. So Derek, Jesse, shows up supposing he's supposed to help. He's supposed to lend a hand. He's supposed to do his duty.
I'm supposed to work hole 2, Jesse. Hole 2, which had the Wheel of Death. Wheel of Death, for those of you that are unaware, is a wheel you spin, and it selects a club. And whatever club it selects, that's the club that your party has to tee off with from the tee box. For instance, Saul's group got a putter, and they had to tee off from the tee box with their putters. We got a sand wedge, also equally screwed. But go ahead. I just wanted to say how I was supposed to be working that hole and what that hole was. Go, Damon.
So I'm doing my due diligence, Jesse, as a PHNX employee with honor, and I'm going around on my cart, driving Shane around, helping get some film, video content. I show up to the hole, and Derek is golf glove on, like sweating, sipping like a fireball, shooter. Like,
whoa! At that moment, I was drinking a beer, pal. I was thinking I had a bad birdie.
Golf, and you're like, what happened over here, Derek? And he just he jumped at the opportunity. He was like, I'm not working today. I'm hanging out.
Hey, all I'm saying is some hero stepped up and took an open spot that needed to be filled because Espo had to go do an emergency podcast. Now, am I that hero? Should I be? I think that hero's a strong word. I think
it is.
So you started playing Is that what I'm?
Understanding
here?
Saul, in fact, demanded that I played. Jesse,
he played 18 holes. Jesse, not only did he
all
play,
18.
he played
with a wonderful group of guys. How did
you do? Because I can't imagine that went very well for you.
we shot 1 under par, Jesse, because
I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, you know why? Because this was a scramble. So what happens in a scramble is the 4 of you all tee off, but then you get to pick the best ball to hit. And then you all get to go drop your ball by the best ball. I had a great time. I had some great shots. I saved the day at times. Not a lot, but just at times. And more importantly, I made friendships that will last
never
until
break.
the end of my life.
Derek and Justin Spears are blood brothers at this
point. My God. I love Justin Spears. That was my cart buddy. Me and Justin Spears. We're like this
that's
now.
That's a good time.
We also
that's a good time.
One of the gentlemen in our party, Nick, shout out to Nick Robinson, cousin of David Robinson, the Admiral for the NBA. Fun stories that I'll never be able to share on this show ever at any point.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's I got some good stories about some good parties. But anyway, this is the reason why you need to sign up for notifications, right? You can't miss all these live podcasts and wonderful stories like this. Not to mention, Damon, the Cardinals got Zay Jones. Is that right?
This is indeed true.
Oh my God, we're back.
If Johnny and Bo got their wish, they'd be doing like an emergency pod and then like probably like another one at night.
Hey, they got Mina Kimes today, the legend, the one and only Mina Kimes. That is incredible. So make sure to not miss out on that Cardinals podcast because, man, huge fan of Mina Kimes. So check them out. Check everything out. Make sure to leave us a like. Gabby loves it when you leave us a like. If you're listening to this entire story about me being a hero on the audio podcasting side, make sure you subscribe over there as well. Leave us a review. We always appreciate those reviews. They help us out quite a bit. Of course, make sure to check out BetMGM Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up yet, you can sign up using our code of PHNX. If you do and deposit at least $10 into your newly created account, you will place your first wager and you can receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Of course, like I've talked about, now is a great time to sign up for the BetMGM Sportsbook if you are a baseball fan. They have their Grand Slam jackpot promotion, which means you can bet $10 or more on any player to hit a home run on the weekends. That's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. If that player in fact hits a home run that is a grand slam, you will win your share of a daily prize up to $50,000. You could win the whole thing if you're the solo winner, or you win your share of that with all other winning bettors from that day. So, of course, like I said, sign up for BetMGM Sportsbook now. Get down on that Grand Slam jackpot promotion. Use our promo code of PHNX. When you do, you can place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the mobile app for at least $10. You will receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. No, that was the worst one yet. We need to get it together, Jesse. Tomorrow's our last day of the week, so we better nail it on Saturday. But of course, if you need help with your finances, you need help getting everything back on track, you can look to our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. They have trusted financial experts that have your best interests in mind. You can count on them because they have been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union for more than 84 years. Their financial experts are committed to helping members and the community. And of course, you can look to them for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, all sorts of investment options, and so much more. Of course, when you open a free checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. All right. Well, speaking of Desert Financial Credit Union, we are going to take a look at the count of today's game presented by our friends at DFCU. Damon, let's take a look at tonight's game. Again, If you want to take a look at this, you definitely can see how the Diamondbacks hung in with the Baltimore Orioles. They lose the game 4-2. Both teams had 7 hits. Runners in scoring position. Orioles were 2 for 8, while the Diamondbacks were 1 for 7. Why does it feel, Jesse, like the Orioles were 6 for 9 with runners in scoring position tonight? It just really felt like they were much more efficient than that. Diamondbacks had the only home run in tonight's game. And despite the fact that we did not have many home runs, both teams were hitting the ball fairly hard. 46.2 hard hit percentage for the Orioles, 48.1% for the Diamondbacks.
The D-backs actually had a higher expected batting average by a pretty good margin, 292 for the D-backs compared to 228 for the Orioles over on StatCast. So
what
the
went
D-backs
wrong?
The D-backs made some hard contact. I mean, what went wrong, Derek, is that the Orioles just kind of strategically stacked their hits all at the same time, right? In the second inning, they had a couple of singles, which, as we said earlier, were not hit particularly hard. I think both less than 85 miles an hour off the bat, 2 on, nobody out. And then Colton Cowser hits that bomb to left field that Lourdes Gurriel should have caught pretty easily, but as we discussed earlier, he did catch it, but a little more eventful than maybe it should have been. And then Jordan Westburg comes through with that RBI double. There was a ground out, an RBI ground out later in the inning. So that was 3 of the Orioles' 7 hits that came in the span of 4 batters in that second inning. That's a pretty good way to score a couple of runs right there. And then the Orioles did that again against Brandon Pfaadt in the 5th inning, where it was a walk combined with a couple of hits, a couple more hits that came in that inning. So the Orioles, it's not like they had 17 extra base hits or anything like that today. They just sort of strung together their hits pretty well, pretty strategically. And then, of course, they added another run in the 7th off Logan Allen. That seemed to happen over the course of a few minutes there as well. But yeah, there's another situation where they had back-to-back hits. So really, I mean, you look at this, like the Orioles' 7 hits that they had, 3 of them came in that second inning. 2 of them came in that 5th inning, allowing them to score another run. And then 2 of them came in the 7th when they scored another run. They didn't have a hit in any other inning in this game. So really just a good job by the Orioles, like making sure that either they were doing nothing offensively or they were stringing together at bats well and pushing across a few runs in the process.
I don't really know what that's like, especially with this team, because the Diamondbacks will have 15 hits in a game, and somehow they went 3 for 18 with runners in scoring position, and I really can't understand it. But Elise is coming for me in the chat. She says, Justin Spears, who talks smack about the D-backs NL rings. This is my cart buddy, Justin Spears. She also said,
did Justin, he talked smack about the D-backs having
apparently we're going to have to take this up with him next time we're on his show.
You guys didn't know about this?
Oh, we're going to come.
I didn't see it. No.
I said it in the chat here to Elise. I was one of the first people to like grab my pitchforks and be like, Justin, you're so wrong. But he came after us for having like a ring ceremony and like and all that. I don't think he's like big on baseball, but I think he's like kind of a Dodgers fan. So he's just like kind of hating.
All right. Well, we'll handle him. I'll handle him next time I see him.
Don't worry.
More fireball shots for him. Let me tell you, he didn't like that one bit. But he also loves the Lakers. Maybe we shouldn't be on his show anymore, Jesse. We need to talk about this after the show. But of course, maybe the reason that I'm kind of flabbergasted is he always came off as liking the Diamondbacks. And that, of course, makes him a liar. We know he's a liar. We know I never lie. We know Damon occasionally lies. But, of course, we also know that the numbers, they never lie, Jesse. What do you have for us tonight for the numbers don't lie about this game?
We're talking a little more Justin Martinez here, Derek. I've got a couple numbers. The first one you'll see on your screen is 67%. This is the percentage of strikes that Justin Martinez threw today. 18 out of his 27 pitches for strikes, which is a pretty healthy number. That's pretty good. That's above average for sure. Well above average for him, certainly, given what we've seen at times in the past. And then the other number I have, Derek, is 56%. Which represents Justin Martinez's called strike whiff percentage, which is a stat I've brought up a couple of times on the show. It's basically just what % of a pitcher's pitches resulted in a called strike or in a swinging strike. And it's a good way of measuring just sort of how dominant a pitcher was. If you're getting a lot of whiffs, if you're getting a lot of pitches that you're landing in the zone for strikes, the guys are just taking. That's a sign that you're really having your way with hitters. And Justin Martinez's called strike whiff percentage today was 56%, which is off the charts insane. If 30% is generally considered pretty darn good. League average, I think, would be around 27%, something like that. So Justin Martinez, I mean, out of his 27 pitches, I think that's 15 of those pitches were either a called strike or a swinging strike. 7 of those were swinging strikes. So he was just so dominant. I mean, when Justin Martinez is clicking, he is, as we said earlier, about as fun to watch as any relief pitcher in baseball.
It's when we talk about the difference between control and command, right? We've seen Justin Martinez have control all this season, right? His command isn't always there, but his stuff is good.
I don't know if I would say he's had control all this season. We have still seen him like throw sinkers in the dirt, like spiked sinkers from
that's
time to time,
fair,
which is never a
fair.
good thing.
But you know the difference, right? Okay, so like we know the difference, but control, what I'm talking about control is at the very least, you know, what we've seen out of Justin Martinez last season and you know, at times whenever he would make his major league appearances, right? It felt like he had great stuff, but had no idea where it was going to go, right?
Yeah,
and so
totally.
I mean, yeah, you're right. There's times where he's a bit wild this year, but it still feels intended a little bit at times. It's just a bad pitch that he threw, right? But tonight, that's control, that's command, that's everything coming together. Obviously, he's not able to do that every night, nor are most pitchers able to do it as well as he did it tonight every night. But if we can see this out of Justin Martinez, a few more times over the next couple of weeks, I'm turning to him in every high leverage, close game situation, you know, that involves you going to the bullpen. Like, I don't want to see them overwork him, but he absolutely at this point should be considered. And I don't know what that role is going to be. Like you said earlier, I don't know where he's going to fit in exactly. I just think that especially in a game like tonight, where the Diamondbacks were still within shouting distance of the Orioles, it would have been, it would have been nice to see, you know, Justin Martinez in that initial bullpen, you know, call versus going to Logan Allen. But hindsight's 2020. Logan Allen has been good.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna say, we know that Torey Lovullo likes his positive roles and his negative roles. Like, if the D-backs were up 1 run instead of down 1 run,
it would have been Justin Martinez.
They're not going to Logan Allen. I don't know. Maybe they're going to Ryan Thompson or something instead. I don't know exactly who was available today. But yeah, it feels like there should be a difference between a negative roll situation where you're down by 1 run and a negative roll situation where you're down by like 5 or 6 runs. If that's the case, then, you know, maybe that would be a safer, kind of a lower leverage spot to put in a guy like Logan Allen. Whereas in this situation, even though the D-backs were down and the offense, as we said earlier, ultimately didn't do enough to win this game anyway, there is something to be said for trying to keep the deficit where it is and, you know, put yourself in as good a position as possible to keep the deficit where it is. And it feels like in a 1-run game at that point, maybe Justin Martinez would have made more sense. But yeah, hindsight is 2020, and yes, it didn't actually matter in the end anyway.
Right. The offense, of course, you know, Torey, you know, made some moves tonight. He had Cattell in the DH. He had Blaze Alexander starting over there at second base. He had Kevin Newman in at shortstop. I felt like this was Torey trying to play to his strengths, trying to put at least one of the better lineups that he felt like he could out there, right? You have Newman defensively at shortstop, and that's obviously an upgrade from Blaze, but you're keeping Blaze in there for his bat. You're giving Cattell a night off, at least defensively, while still relying on his offense. Like, things make sense at times with Torey's lineups, and I have nothing to say offensively, even though the offense didn't work tonight. I will say, though, that I am understanding of people criticizing Torey Lovullo's choices out of the bullpen at times, and maybe it's because of that thing you just said. Maybe maybe it's because of the negative role and positive role things where we as fans view it differently. We think that, especially with a team that's struggling with their confidence and not really struggling like with their health, but really just struggling at going out there and putting together good at bats in high pressure situations, you want to see them keep the game as close as possible. And even though it's just one run that the bullpen gave up, it's still frustrating when it felt like Logan Allen wasn't, the right move. And I would say that if there was any area Torey should be criticized for this year, it's been who he chooses to go to at times out of the bullpen. But I mean, he still does only have a limited number of pieces and limited number of guys available on any given night. And, it's easier for us to Monday morning quarterback it or couch quarterback it, rather than, actually being there, being the manager of this team.
I still think there's a world in which the D-backs get a little bit healthier. So we discussed at length yesterday, Slade Ciccone, the idea of him moving into the bullpen is pretty interesting. Maybe they get to a point with Ryan Nelson where they feel comfortable doing the same once Erod and probably Merrill Kelly. You'd probably have to get both of those guys back to be able to do that. At that point, I mean, a bullpen that has Sewald, Ginkel, Thompson at the back end, that is Joe Mantiply, I guess, is sort of your primary high leverage lefty. Justin Martinez, Slade Ciccone, Ryan Nelson filling things out, plus a long reliever, whoever that winds up being at that point. It has the makings of, I'm not going to say that's like a top 5 bullpen in the league, but in my head, I can imagine that being a pretty good bullpen for the Diamondbacks. Again, though, it's just going to require them to get healthy in order to be able to get there.
Well, we do want to thank our friends at OG's Brands. I want to thank them because they gave me this little token that I can trade in for a free bag of OG's today. So that's definitely a great way to get over today's loss. Of course, you should check out OG's Brands. They flavor our Fridays around here, but they say that because they are literally the best tasting edibles on the market. I have not had a better tasting edible. In fact, they rival most non-medicated candies. I'm willing to go out there and say that. But of course, the effects of these are much different. And of course, they do have a wide variety of doses and strains for you to check out. So make sure to check out all OG's Brands has to offer. To learn more about OG's gummies and where you can find them, head on over to ogsbrands.com. Must be 21 or over to enjoy, and please enjoy responsibly. Of course, if you're seeking out a little Damon in your life and a little maybe pollo fundido, maybe a little reverse nacho situation, maybe some tacos, some burritos, all that stuff, got to check out Illegal Pete's. Damon, is that where, I know you've had a busy day, but is that where you wrapped up things tonight?
Man, I it's not, but I can't think of anywhere I'd rather be right at this moment. Sitting at the bar, even doing this show. I'd sit up there, I'd produce this show. I'd say, get me a prickly pear marg.
Yep. They'd ask you if you needed any more lighting. They'd take care of you because they're good folks over there at Illegal Pete's.
Oh my God. The best folks.
We'll get you everything you need, including the strongest margaritas in Arizona. So make sure to check all of that out. Make sure to check Damon out. Go say hi to Damon when you're at the Tempe location for sure. What do you got over there?
They should have like a black card, like an Illegal Pete's black card that I should have.
Yeah. Like some sort of secret membership of just one person, and it's just the Damon's dogs, but like really nice in a real nice font in gold. And that's all it says is Damon's dogs. That's all. And then they get it at Illegal Pete's. They understand
would be pretty cool.
I don't know, but if there's anybody that deserves it, it's that man. He works tirelessly, or maybe kind of doesn't work. I don't know. There's a picture of him floating around on Twitter of him just sleeping in a golf cart today, even though he attacked me for my masterful manipulation of the working situation here. But that's because that man knows ball, and he also knows where to get good food. So make sure check out Illegal Pete's. They are here to bring you a win with their legendary sound check deal. You can bring in your ticket stub from any ticketed event, and you will receive a draft beer or a house margarita for just $1. Make sure to check out Illegal Pete's. They want to celebrate with you, whether it's pregame or postgame party. They got you covered with all your game day needs. Must purchase an adult entree to redeem Illegal Pete's sound check deal. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer. Let's take a look, of course, at some injury updates. I don't know, Damon, do we have the probable pitchers, by the way, before we move on to the injury updates? Because, yeah, let's see what we got on tap for the rest of the series really fast. Of course, the real Milkman, Zach Gallen, going there in game 3 against, I know his name is Kramer, Jesse, but I want to say Creamer because then that's even funnier, the Milkman versus Creamer. But tomorrow we got Ryan Nelson against Means, who's been very good for the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, John Means just made his season debut, just returned from injury for his last start, tossed 7 scoreless innings with 8 strikeouts. So, yeah, he was he was pretty good in that game. I believe that came against the Cincinnati Reds, team Diamondbacks are growing very familiar with, especially when they see them again at home next week. But yeah, these are by no means, Derek, 2 easier starting pitchers than what the D-backs got in Cole Irvin today. Means not only was good in that previous start, but he has a pretty darn good track record. He hasn't been healthy much the last few years, had Tommy John surgery. But you go back to, I want to say 2019. I believe 2019, John Means did some serious work for my fantasy baseball team. So shouts out to him. And then, yeah, Dean Kramer in that Sunday finale. He's also been pitching really well as a 3.57 ERA on the season. So as we said yesterday, you're avoiding Kyle Bradish, you're avoiding Corbin Burns, but this Orioles rotation, even with the loss of Grayson Rodriguez, who recently went down with a shoulder injury, this rotation has quite a bit of depth and is still pretty formidable for sure.
Well, our guy Teo Mackey has some updates on injuries and when we can be expecting some of our starting players back. A lot of guys here that can really change the Diamondbacks starting lineup and, of course, their starting rotation. But what's going on with Alek Thomas? Because I'm starting to get nervous. I'm starting to get worried. I don't know what these things I'm hearing from Torey Lovullo mean.
I don't know if I really know what they mean either. It's a pretty interesting situation, right? The Diamondbacks sent Alek Thomas out on a rehab assignment last weekend. He played Friday, Saturday, Sunday with the Reno Aces. And then Monday rolled around. Tuesday came, and we expected Alek Thomas to be reinstated from the IL alongside Paul Sewald. But that is not what the Diamondbacks announced on Tuesday. It was just Sewald who was reinstated from the IL. And then Alek Thomas, team said that he was going back to Arizona to have some imaging after feeling something again in his hamstring on Sunday, and I believe also on Monday. So the D-backs wanted to play it safe there and get another MRI. And it sounds now, Derek, that the D-backs are just still gathering information about this MRI. Torey Lovullo today told people in Baltimore that they are getting a second and third opinion on the MRI with Alek Thomas, which generally is not a great sign. But also there's a quote from Torey Lovullo in Teo Mackey's story that inspires some sort of optimism. He said, there's clearly something going on as far as the MRI is concerned. There's clearly a signal in there. Whether it's okay or not is what we're trying to determine. So it sounds like the Diamondbacks are trying to figure out right now whether they can just proceed as normal, like I guess maybe just give Alek Thomas a few days off and then get him back in there, in which case we would see him pretty soon. Or if there's something bigger at play here, if there's something that they really need to be careful about and push him out a little bit farther. So I don't think it's necessarily that, oh, Alek is they're thinking about having surgery or something major. I don't think this is necessarily that. It feels more like they're just trying to play it safe and make sure that there isn't anything in this MRI that warrants them pushing his timeline out further. But yeah, not a lot of clarity so far. I guess we'll see how it all turns out.
Have you ever had a strained muscle, Jesse? And I'm not saying that in jest. I mean, you're a young man, and I don't know based on certain levels of activity that you do or don't have if you've ever had like a really bad pulled muscle or not. But the reason why I asked that is because
the answer, I'll just say the answer is no. I was going to say, I mean, maybe something very minor, but I've never had a grade 2 strained hamstring.
Like we all have things like a back issue or something like that. We didn't sleep right, our neck kind of hurts, like whatever, and then it just magically kind of goes away the next day or a few days later, hopefully, if you're lucky. I strained my quad. I had a grade 2 strain of my quad muscle. I did it when I was playing co-ed soccer. It was a very bad idea. I could not recommend. If you are a male, do not play co-ed soccer. Those women are vicious and relentless. But at one point when I was just warming up for a game, my the person I was kicking back and forth with kind of kicked it too far to the right, and all I did was like reach too far with my leg, and next thing I know, I strained my quad muscle. It was one of the most painful things I've experienced, and like what was funny was like literally how I hobbled around the office for weeks after that with this strained quad muscle. I'm no athlete. I don't do anything. It's not like I'm going to go on surgery or be rehabilitated. No, I just have a strained quad now. My doctor diagnoses it. He tells me to like take some time off of it, which how do you do that? And then, yeah, that's it. But like, even after it was healed, I would just have these moments where I would do one thing, like one exercise or one thing. And like when he talks about that signal, it's just that little feeling of like that entire pain all being back. And it would just kind of like spark in my leg. And it was enough for me to go, you know what, maybe the physical point of my life is over now. Maybe that time is behind me. I've been looking forward to the days where I could just get fat and sit around and have excuses not to run. But yeah, maybe that's the time now. So like I get it because they're being overly cautious. They're going to make sure that if Alec Thomas feels anything, any kind of discomfort, especially a similar discomfort to what he felt when they, had to put him on the IL, you're not going to risk that at this point. And I mean, I think I don't know what the second and third MRI or the second or third opinion means though, right? Like it almost feels like rather than them trying to find out that he's okay, it feels like it's more they're trying to find somebody to find what's wrong with him and what he's describing in a way, right? Like it almost feels like the first diagnosis was that there's nothing there.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Torrey is saying there is something there. He said there's a signal. That's sort of the word that Torrey tends to use when he's talking about an MRI that
means Alec
showed
feeling
something.
pain. There's something.
Yeah, there's something on the MRI that confirms what Alec said about his hamstring not feeling right. But it feels like what they're seeing is not very significant, and they just want to make sure that they don't make this situation a whole lot worse by kind of ignoring or just quickly moving past what they're seeing on this MRI and having him just kind of, I guess, return reasonably quickly, it seems. So, yeah, maybe there's still a world where Alec Thomas is back with the D-backs in like a week or something. We don't really have that answer yet, but hopefully we do soon. These doctors, Derek, they've got a second and third opinion. You'd think it wouldn't take like a full week for that process to happen.
I was gonna say, you have to have
hopefully we know more soon.
You got to have thick skin if you're a doctor to have somebody look you right in the face and be like, "Oh, you say he's fine? All right. Well, we're going to go get another opinion about that. Take that MRI. I know it's not an x-ray, but I feel like it's like an x-ray to take that and walk out of the office. But yeah, no, I mean, it better than to be safe than sorry. Erod obviously is a cautionary tale within their own system, within their own organization right now that they don't want to have happen again with any of their injured players. But on the good news, when it comes to Erod, it sounds like he began his throwing program recently, and he is on track to come back to this team and be a part of the starting rotation once again.
Torrey said he threw out to 45 feet today, which is, the first step in what's going to be a pretty long process here. Torrey has said in the past that however long a starting pitcher is down, that gives you a rough idea of how long it will take them to build back up once they start throwing again. So, this injury originally happened on March 19th. The setback, I believe, happened on April 9th. So you're about a month out from the setback. You're going on 2 months out from the injury originally occurring in that spring training game. Yikes. So all that to say, Eduardo Rodriguez, although he's throwing, and this is a good sign, it's the first step, a big step in the right direction. You're not going to see Erod in May, and you might not even see him in June. This is going to be at least a month for him to get out by all, or for him to get back by all indications. But still, a very positive step here as the MRI came back at least clean enough for him to get this process started. And hopefully it doesn't end the same way this time. And he's able to follow this through and get back to the D-backs here before too long.
The real guy we need to know about is Jerry P. What is going on with Perdomo, and how long until Damon's entire heart is restored?
Yeah, with Geraldo Perdomo, we saw this from Teo Mackie. I think Steve Gilbert tweeted this as well. Perdomo has now started baseball activities. He's on to full baseball activities. And when asked when he could return, Torrey said, hopefully before the end of the month, which of course we have exactly 3 weeks remaining now in the month of May. So it appears that the D-backs could get Geraldo Perdomo back within the next 3 weeks, which would obviously be a really big development.
The heart and soul of this team back.
There you go.
Damon, I know Damon feels ways about that. I know he has ways he feels about that, but I can't see where he's at right now. So what I will say, though, is we thank you guys for being here. Even after a loss, we'll get back at it tomorrow. The Arizona Diamondbacks still have a chance to win this series. Of course, you know what we do. We lose game 1 of the series. That's what we do so far this season. So hopefully the Diamondbacks can bounce back. Use that red sweep as motivation here. By the way, that sweep of the Reds was their first road sweep since June of last year, which doesn't feel great.
Although that's I guess that's not counting the wild card series.
Oh yeah,
I guess that counts as a road sweep.
Attaboy.
They also swept the Dodgers in the NLDS, but those games weren't all on the road. So I don't know if that counts. But yeah, in the regular season, it has been almost a full year since that had happened, which is pretty wild.
Piece of Yoshi's right. Sweeps are hard, but of course, so are game 1 of a series, apparently, according to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So we'll get back at it tomorrow. Make sure to join us, by the way. Speaking of which, tomorrow on Saturday, we will have a special Mailbag Saturday episode for you guys at 11 a.m. tomorrow. So make sure not to miss out on that. Also, for more on this Baltimore Orioles team, do not miss Jesse's On the Record this week. Jesse, who'd you have on the show this week?
We had Jake Rill, who covers the Orioles from MLB.com, an old friend of both of ours. He was, as of a couple years ago, based here in Arizona as a reporter producer for MLB.com. So writing about a bunch of different teams, often showing up to the ballpark to cover the visiting team on that particular day. It was good to get to chat with Jake a little bit again. And if you haven't already, be sure to go check that out.
Yeah, well, what you can also do is make sure to check out everything we have on PHNX. Make sure to check out that Die Hard option if you are not already a Die Hard member, because you get all sorts of wonderful stuff with that. But of course, make sure to also follow us on Twitter. I am at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, the people's producer, Damon, is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We are Damon's Dogs. Bark. Our show is at PHNX_D-backs, but of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you again for your time. We appreciate you guys stopping by tonight, and we will see you again tomorrow morning. So you guys have a wonderful night. And again, thank you for your time and your patience. We will see you again shortly. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when a 74-year-old man sprays you down with a hose in the rain.
We all silly like the mayor.